Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dancers Podcast. And I'm super excited to have an amazing artist that I very much appreciate. His name is Cesar Brodermann, and we used to dance together. And today, Cesar is a choreographer that has his own company based in Mexico City. And Cesar, hello, would you like to say something more about yourself to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm really excited to be here with you and with everyone that's listening. And yeah, nowadays I just consider myself an artist of the body, whatever platform it is. It can be a photo, a film, um, performance, but it's always the body. So it's still relevant with dance, of course. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, for the people who don't know you, can you let us know a little bit about your journey into dancing?
Yeah. Since the beginning, I guess it's always been like a necessity of mine since I'm a little kid. When I was 10, I started doing musical theater. So I first started to like express myself in any way I could, and then dance became the way to do it when I was 15. Then I was able to move to New York. This is where I started like my journey professionally, and I met more like the contemporary modern improvisation techniques. And this is what made most sense to me. I feel like I just needed to move whatever it was. Because I feel like the musical theater or like the other technical aspects of it made sense, but improvisation for me was always like this I can connect to and I can express myself. And every time I needed to like say something, I would just move and it would make sense, you know? And then I danced with a company called Galim in New York City. And then I was in Bacheva for 4 years, which we do a lot of improvisation there too, no? So I feel like it really gave me a lot of tools to keep discovering myself. I started also doing this practice that I do every day since I think it's like been like 7 years. So every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is I move and then I write about it. And it really helps me. It really helps me like maintain my life in a way of like even when I'm really going through hard things, it's like a moment to disconnect just and reconnect to my body. And I feel like it's a practice that I keep developing also like now in my work with my company with people I work with of like really discovering ourselves in curiosity in every day, not just in the studio. This is something I try to encourage always with the dancers I work with, that we of course work in the studio, but like it's how it touches the work in your daily life, how it touches the work in, I don't know, for me, it's like obsession. I always obsess with whatever I'm working at. It can be a brick, it can be a ladder, it can be an object or just the body. And so I wake up and every moment of my life becomes about that. And I guess that's my journey with dance and with movement. I'm still discovering it every day, every moment. Yeah.
Amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood, like growing up dancing in Mexico?
Yeah. First of all, like when I was 6, my dad used to be he's a lawyer, he's a regular person, but when he was younger, he had like a rock band. And he made this song called Dancing Shoes when I was 6 years old, and I was not a dancer yet. But like it was because I was really hyperactive and I would dance in my house, you know? But I was not like a trained dancer, like I would never have taken a class. Um, and then with dance in Mexico, I feel like it's really specific. Like we have like the ballet, we have like the hip hop, or we have like the contemporary floor work. And for me, I started with doing jazz. Like I was like a competition dancer. So like it was really, yeah, I that made sense for me at that time, you know, so with the musical theater and all of this background of like the acting. And it's really interesting because nowadays it's still relevant to like to what I make, even though it's really different. Like the last piece I made last year had a like a monologue, like a text monologue. And for me was like really coming back to even the roots of me doing theater when I was a little kid. Um, so yeah, I feel like everything is interconnected in some way. And then as I said, like I think like only when I moved to New York City at 17, like I really started training dance, more like modern dance and like ballet and more specific, let's call it. But I feel like dance, since I'm a little kid, has been there. I feel like if I think about Cesar like as a little kid, is like just this passionate little dancer that just wanted to like explore and throw himself to anything, even if he wouldn't know the steps or the way to do it. And I feel like nowadays I try to do that too, like sometimes I say to myself, one of my dreams would be to forget how to dance again, to like really connect again to that beginning of like discovering every second. And I try to do it even if I already know, what's a tandu, what my flesh can do, what my mind can do. But I try to always trick my mind even to like be like, this is, I don't know it. And let's try to see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually so interesting because I felt like 2 years ago was the first time I ever thought about it, that I felt like maybe there's nothing new to discover in this body, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same person, like changing all the time for sure, but then every day I reach the studio and I feel like I've done all the movements possible for my body already.
Yeah.
So how do you keep it fresh for yourself? You said you have this morning research ritual that I remember you doing every single day. And for me, I was always like a fan of yours, in a way, because this is insane. I remember us dancing and you were getting up so early in the morning to do that. Sometimes doing it outside at like 6 a.m. I was like, oh my God, this person, he's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like I mean it's changed because like I remember the first time it was like 4 years ago that I didn't do it for one day and I really was like it's the end of the world like I can't believe it. But it really taught me that it's like it's okay. Like it's okay that like it's good to have a platform, it's good to commit to things because I love things that are durational and that take time. But also some days you just can't do it, or sometimes you're just so busy doing other things that it's fine that your ritual becomes that changes. And I feel like that's what I take the most from this question too of like I'm not trying to like discover every day anymore. But I'm trying to just like kind of like reconnect to what I already discovered before, especially with my works. Like when I make new work, I feel like there's this pressure about like making a new production that's like completely new and no one has done it and like blah 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 blah. And I find myself most interested when I'm like, like I connect to this since I'm like a little kid or like 5 years ago. And now how do I connect to it now with my age or with my background or even with like the space that I'm living with or the dancers that I work with. And then I feel like then it's endless because then it's really fresh, even though it's the same information. Uh, and I really try to think about like the people that are working with me or like the people are in my surroundings in the daily life. Because I feel like what I was discovering when I was with you, for example, it's different to what I discover now with like my Mexican friends, let's say. And I think it's really nice to like to really be open to like the constant change that happens in life and that can really permeate or like be part of what we do in art creation, to really not separate it. It's really important for me at least. Yeah.
Wow, I feel like I'm very tempted into asking you, where are you now in your life? But I first want to go back because you said you moved to New York when you were 15, right?
17.
17. All right. How was the move to the big city? Like incorporating yourself in a dance scene that is like bigger and might be overwhelming.
Yeah. I feel like I have always been so like clear when I like want something. Like it was like my dream to like be in New York City and to dance, whatever it would mean. So I remember like telling my parents and they would be like, no. And then I remember being like, okay, I'm gonna figure it out. So I won a scholarship and then I made like a PDF of like I'm gonna stay here, I'm gonna live here. You can either support me or not, but I'm gonna do it. And I feel like that for me has always been like it's always been like the way to manage being scared of things. Because I feel like the fear always comes, of course, you're so little. How would you move alone to like a big city? But then I'm like, it doesn't matter. My dream is bigger than like my fear. So like I'm gonna make it work somehow. And of course in the process, the fear is every day. Because I mean you're alone, you miss your family, I don't know, but then you just have to remember the dream and like why you want to do it in first place. And I feel like that's what still drives me nowadays also that I'm a creator. When I like lose myself a little bit because it's like grant application or like commission or new creation and blah 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 all these like external things. I just need to go back to that dream and to that core of like I just wanted to move and I just want to move people. Like that's what I came to do in life. And then it's easier to like move to a big city or to move to a country where you don't know the language or to dance with people you've never danced with, like all of these things. Like nowadays I feel like I'm really trained whenever I go teach, I don't know, in other country or whenever I work with new dancers. For me it's like it doesn't feel like new in a way. It just feels like new people, but like I'm so open to it that like it's gonna be okay. No matter how much fear or how much stress or how much uncertainty I have, I can just like try to calm myself down and think it's gonna be okay. Like right now I feel like I'm in that phase of my mind at least. Yeah.
I loved what you said about the fear because I feel like fear is one of the things that kill your momentum, your movements in a way, like it's keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
It has a purpose, like it's supposed to protect you in a way, but it's so beautiful that you said every time I go back to the dream. And I actually want to make the connection to improvisation because there's something about improvising. You said improvisation is part of your life, and dealing with the fear and going after your dream when things are uncertain, that's improvisation in life.
Literally. Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you
I
like
feel
to
like
tell a bit about what is the practice of improvisation to you? Because you said you were doing it from such a young age, so I'm curious.
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's just to I mean, as you're saying it in life, I just feel like it's being open to decision making. Like I feel like that's improvisation. And not being like rigid about anything. And it's also so hard because improvisation has endless decisions. So you have to kind of like start to limit yourself. This is something I'm learning in the past years. Like a limitation is a good thing because I feel like when I was younger and even a couple years ago, I'm always like, I need to like break my limits. I need to go beyond. I need to change the world. And I feel like nowadays, not that I can change the world, like maybe with art we change the world still like a little bit, but I feel like realistically I'm more open to understanding that the systems are there for a reason and maybe I can't destroy them. So maybe I just need to like play with them and accept them and then find myself the most free that I can inside of these spaces. And I feel like that's what is improvisation on a every day. Because every day, for example, right now, we just premiered a big work that talks about the borders, but not necessarily like the physical borders, but the borders that we like encounter every day in our mind, in our relationships. And then how every day it's about breaking one, because every day there's like a challenge or something that you need to like kind of like pass through. And I feel like if you have this soft improvisation body or like this open mind, then it's so much easier to like to go around it or to break it a little bit or I don't know. Like I feel like because of improvisation, I don't feel stuck as much in my body, especially. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
improvisation is something that you also incorporate in your work in the company.
Yeah, I mean, all the works I created through improvisation, either from my body or I guide them in like really long sessions. I mean, this you know about me, but it's still the same. I love resistance, I love limits, I love time. So like sometimes we can be improvising for 4 hours And then I'm like, okay, let's start creating the piece just from this now.
4 hours straight?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh my God,
Like,
Cesar.
I know I love long sessions because it's like, for me, I really stop thinking. Like I stop thinking when I'm tired. I stop thinking when yeah, when I'm like in a just in momentum of a lot of time. And then this is when I feel like my most creative self takes this decision making. Because I'm not like, okay, like what cool movement I can do or like how to be creative. I'm just like, I'm exhausted. Like, let's figure it out. And maybe you touch me here, and like, and then something else gets like brought up. And then for me, that's the work. I always talk about like me more than a choreographer, being like an orchestra director. Because I feel like I'm like, okay, you try this, you try this, you try this, and then we do this, and then the piece is made. Um, it's less about me making them dance like me. Like sometimes a lot of material comes from my body, but like I really want to see them in like their most tired, their most passionate, their most, I don't know, guts way, and then something comes out, and then the piece is made, I feel like. Yeah. So yeah, we work a lot with improvisation.
And what do you feel that comes out the moment they're so exhausted and they're like, oh my God, let's figure it out and go home?
I feel like this is something that is so beautiful with also with the company that it's so collective. I feel like we really understand that like if someone is really dying or really tired in the session or in the piece also it's like let's go together and we like really share energies. Like it's always the works that I make, it's always about listening to others and like how to connect. Even if I'm doing a solo or something, like how do we connect with other people, with the audience? So it always feels like even if we're so tired, somehow someone is gonna like replenish this energy. Or even this idea of like being so exhausted, I feel like it really brings them to like, let's try it. And it's just like a trying moment. And sometimes we really don't succeed because it's not about succeeding. Like I talked to them about this too, of like, okay, if we're so tired today, it's fine. Let's just collapse for the whole rehearsal and then let's see if something happens. But like, it's about trying to find something. Yeah.
I wonder what is your relationship with exhaustion? Because I remember you like playing with this thin line a lot when you were creating, dancing, improvising. Also, a word that keeps repeating itself is limitation, being limited,
Yeah.
and borders, which is part of the one of the first pieces that you created that I remember, Borderline. And you said the new piece is also about borders, right? So
Yeah.
I'm curious about like what is this thing that you have, this relationship of pushing the limits of maybe not pushing, but stretching the limits and going into the exhaustion.
Yeah. I feel like again, for me, if I think about it since I'm young, it's just like I just always want to like feel things. I remember in our rehearsal telling them of like this moment when you're about to cry. For me, it's like more meaningful than the actual crying. Or this moment when you're about to kiss someone and then you kiss and then it's done. But then this like this tension where you feel so much. For me, I feel like that's what I'm trying to do always in my pieces to like stretch this feeling. And that's why it's always about, yeah, limitation, border, sensation, all of these things that like tension. And it can be again like a border that's like physical, or it can be a border that's just like in our minds, or even in the body, like how we stretch our arm and then maybe we find another way to do it. So it becomes also about the physical way to stretch borders in our body. Um, and then I feel like that's for me that's already a lot. And then I can just keep discovering in that. And the other thing that really comes also with this limitation border is time. So like I always try to discover, as I said, like in really long sessions or like, I mean, I did with Guy this 8-hour performance. Right now we're working towards a 10-hour performance for next year with the company. And it's gonna be the first time that I do it with the whole company. So I'm also excited for that. because I love pushing their boundaries. Because I feel like I have something in me that I can do it. People are always like, "How do you do it?" And then I'm like, "I don't know. I just have to do it." And this is what I try to teach people too, of like, just commit to it. And like, because for example, with the performance I did with Guy, the 8 hours, people, the first thing that they ask is like, didn't you want to go to the bathroom? And I'm like, no, like, this is not something that comes to your mind because you're so present. And that's what I feel like if I connect it to limitation and to tension and to all of this, it's like, it makes me be so present. And that's why I love pushing this limit. Because if I'm like soft, I feel like I can think or I can, yeah, I can be like, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow? But if I'm in this like presence and tension, I'm just there. And it's almost about survival, you know? It's like it has to be that moment or nothing else. And I feel like it really helps me just like be present in life in generally, you know? And sometimes I struggle with this because I talk to it to my psychologist of like I feel so present when I'm on stage or when I'm creating, and then I go to regular life and I'm not. And for me, the gap is so big, and sometimes it's really hard. But I'm letting go of it. Like I'm really learning that, of course, I cannot be in this state of presence for the whole day. It would be insane. But that's why I push when I'm like on stage or when I'm in rehearsal, because it's like a space for that, for those discoveries. And then I can be like relaxing in my bed and just be a regular person, you know? Yeah.
Well, I want to treat everything you said because there were a lot of interesting things here. Let's start with the performance with guys. So for the people that don't know what are you talking about, 8 hour durational performance. What was the
Yeah.
format? What was happening there?
Yeah. So I remember talking to Guy. I mean, Guy Davidson, he's like a really close friend, but also a really close collaborator. And I remember first we created like a 15-minute version, but I since then I told him like, listen, I want to experience what it means to climb a mountain. The piece is called How to Climb a Mountain. So we researched how long it took to climb Mount Everest, the fastest, and it was 8 hours and 15 minutes. So this was like our first kind of like landmark to like start the process. Of course, we've never climbed a mountain, so it's also interesting for me, the creation and creating of worlds. It's not literal. Like I'm not gonna, I mean, it would be amazing to go to Mount Everest and climb, but for me, it's like about imagination, you know? And then in this imagination, it's like, okay, how can we experience something that feels not the same because we don't know how it feels, but something that pushes our limit. So for us, we decided to do this 8 hour session where we would have different interconnection of loops. So sometimes we would be the climber or the mountain, and then we would switch. And it was really hard because every 2 hours, like one of us was like the one that held the other one. Like that was the mountain. So by the time that we were like 4 or 5 hours, even the lines between the roles were really blurry because we were both tired. So it was more again about just like trying to be there for each other. It's also like the first time I did like a durational performance with someone else because I used to do it alone. And I feel like when you're alone, you can do whatever you want a little bit, you know? You're tired, so then you're like, okay, like let's figure it out. But when I was with him, again, it was amazing because it's so present and you forget about yourself a little bit. I think it's also like an exercise about the ego. Like you really have to let go of yourself and be like, I have to do this. It's more like we need to do this together and let's see how we make it work. And I feel like that thing for me has become like really important for all my works too. Because it's like not about if the dancer is beautiful or looks amazing. It's about the thing that we're trying to create. And I always tell them like, let's put it somewhere else and then let's do what the piece needs instead of like what I need as a creator. Even for me, it really helps me because then I'm like, it's not my piece. It's like the piece and we're making it all together. And it's really collaborative, you know? Yeah. So yeah.
And how did the audience react to this kind of piece?
Mm-hmm. I think it's of course no one watched the 8 hours and it's not about that. Like for me it's not about that. Like I really like to give audience permission, which is also something we can talk about in a little bit. Like audience for me is really important. Um, but yeah, I think it was beautiful because a lot of people that came at the beginning came at the end because they wanted to really see the whole journey, even with the pauses. And you could really see our bodies. Our bodies at the beginning were really like this, and then at the end they're just like just surviving, you know? Um, and for me, it's just so beautiful to also see people coming back again and to see people really close, which is something really relevant to me. Like all my works, even though we do them in theater, which is something I really struggle. I don't like performing in theaters. But sometimes it's like what we have to do because, you know, like the grants or like the festivals. But like for me, the audience needs to be up here. They need to see us like sweat. They need to be with us because like for me, they like the piece is not finished unless they're with us, you know? So it makes me think of like we always have also like this type of audience encounter or interaction in all of our pieces that I've been doing since then. Because I really feel like I don't like this border that exists between like how what we are and what they see. It's like for me, it's like we're also people. You're coming to see us, you're coming to experience what we're creating, but I want you to be part of the world. And this world is not finished if you're not part of it or if you're not really present with me. So it's always hard, especially in theaters. Like right now, the piece we performed 2 weeks ago was like in the biggest theater here in Mexico, so people are really far away. But for me, it's like, okay, even if we are like tiny person, how can we still manage to touch the last person? And we try. Again, it's about trying. Yeah.
And what did you came up for this show? Like, how did you touch the audience?
I mean, so this show originally we premiered 2 years ago, but it was in a 360 setting, and we have a big wall that like separates the two shows. So it's like two shows happening at the same time, and people can only see one show. But this time, because it's frontal, I was like, how the hell are we gonna figure it out? So what we managed is we made the wall fly a little bit and it was turning around the whole time. So people could see both of the stages at the same time. Um, and in the original, we had crossing of the audience from one side to the other. In this one, we did it with like only four people that like crossed. But it was really interesting because even for that, for example, because it's a really big theater and institution, I had to like send an email saying like from row A1, we're gonna cross at minute 21, two people, you know, like we cannot just like alterate the space and like do what I wanted. We really had to be like really clear because it's like audience and also I mean it can be dangerous or like it can be really like maybe someone doesn't want to go or like feels uncomfortable. But this is something we always work with the dancers too of like okay, if someone doesn't want, let's not force them. Like it's never about forcing anything. It's about being like open and then like forcing a little bit but not, you know, not to the point where people don't want to be there, you know. Yeah, and then I mean, and then it was really frontal still. But like another thing that I did in this show is that instead of starting in the theater, we started like even from far, far away, like from the lobby, so that people would already have the dancers really close. And for me, that was already like a beginning that I was like, people already feel you. So even if you see the tiny person far away, you already have them here sweating. So hopefully you can remember their eyes or remember something that you saw. Yeah.
A word that came up to my brain as you were speaking was spontaneity, because I
Mm,
feel like it's something that is very much in you.
mm,
It's spontaneous, not planning everything so strictly in advance. And I feel like now with the company work and like growing into bigger theaters, it's harder to be spontaneous.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always tricky because I feel like I have my side that is like systematic and like perfectionist. And then I have my side that is just like, let's do whatever and like let's try. So I feel like I just need to always find a balance between those two, especially when like it's really system wise, like this theater, for example. Everything was like I had to announce it before. Like I always make this like how do you call it? Programas de mano. Like this like beautiful visual art that I give to the people in the entrance of the shows. But for example, in this one, they didn't allow me to do it because it didn't like fulfill the way that they have to do it. And I was frustrated for a second, but then again, it's like, okay, you have to move on. And I feel like that's something that I'm still learning. That like you have your way to do things, but it never works. Like it's always gonna change. This is something I talk about it with the dancers too. Like I like to think that we're not rehearsing, we're like training. We like train our bodies and we train our minds because on stage everything's gonna be like present and probably someone's gonna fall or someone's gonna forget the step or the set design is not going to move when it's supposed to move. Like it's always, there's always mistakes, but I like to think of mistakes as opportunities. And I always really like my favorite part of the shows, it's always when they make mistakes and see how they like figure it out. Because then I'm like, oh, good. They're like, they're trained or like they're connected. And then it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to see because then they're really there. They're not just doing a step that they know and they can do it whenever and whatever. And that's why I think also I come back to like the this thing of that we were talking about limitation and stretching because I feel like again when it's easy, it's like it's easier to just like do it. For me, it has to be hard because then I'm like I cannot be thinking about doing it. I'm just like doing it and surviving through it, you know? And if I fall, then I'm like surviving even more. So yeah, yeah, a little bit of this. And spontaneity, like as you said, it's like I feel like it's just something that you have to keep trying again. Um, especially when there's so many spaces that are so rigid, you know? Um, and it's just about being, again, a bit about being open to like others. For example, as a director nowadays, I feel like something that it's really important to me is to listen to others and not to be like, okay, we're gonna do this. This is the piece, and you do what I say. And it's more like, okay, like, why is this part not working? Or like, you don't understand what I want? Or like, or even we sometimes change parts. Like, really, like, some of the dancers sometimes are like, this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, ah, but it really makes sense to me. But then I'm like, okay, why it doesn't make sense? And then we can really transform the piece. Unless it's really like something that I can't give up. But then I'm learning that sometimes you can really give up everything. And then it can just give new things to the process, you know? Yeah.
This is so interesting, actually. I'm curious, where did all of this come from? Is it coming from your home? Is it something like maybe someone influenced you? Maybe you once had a teacher that opened your mind to this kind of.
I don't know. I feel like it's interesting because I feel like whenever people ask me about like what is your inspiration and all of these things or like who taught you, I feel like it's everyone that has been in my journey and like even my friends or the people I met in the morning. It's just like if we're really open to the connections that are happening every day, I feel like it just keeps teaching me every day that it's not so serious or that we can be more spontaneous or like that creation is everywhere and it's for everyone. So I feel like it's from there. And then I just try to keep always revisiting it. I feel like, for example, my mom really always reminds me that everything is really collective, and this is really helpful because I feel like even that it's like a new era of creators and choreographers and all of this. For example, the interviews or these things are like for me. So it's like, okay, let's interview the director because you know you're the director. And then my mom always reminds me of like, but you have to mention everyone because you cannot do it alone. And then I'm like, it's so true. And I think it's so important to like always remember that you cannot do anything alone. Um, and it helps me because then it's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm always afraid of being like the director, the choreographer. And then with this type of sense, I'm like, I'm just making my art with people and then it's great. And it's touching people and it's not about me. It's really about everyone. It makes me think of like when we found the name of the company, because at the beginning it was my name and like people wanted me, you know. And then for me it was really important to be like we need to name it something because it's not me, it's not me alone, you know. Even though I'm like the director and the head of everything and I produce and I do all of the things, but I have a big team, you know, and I cannot do it alone. So I don't know. I think nowadays it's so important to like see who you're working with and get inspired by. everyone. And I feel like right now my teachers are my dancers and my collaborators. Yeah. Mhm.
Wait, for the people who don't know, tell us what's the name of the company and what does it mean?
Ah, it's so funny because it's a cheesy story, but it's okay. The company is called Aterno, which doesn't mean anything because it was really important for me to like not be like a literal word. I feel like something that happens a lot in Mexico, it's like literal art of like, okay, we're gonna make a piece about women. So it's like women with a dress. Or like, so for me, it was like, I cannot make a company that's called like dance, you know? I mean, I was not gonna do that, but so then we were really discovering like, okay, what is his name? And me and Brenda, which is my rehearsal director that has been with me since the beginning, and my dramaturgist, which is Ilse Urquieta, we were like writing a lot of words that would make sense to the works that we've been doing before, and like a lot of like, I don't know, exhaustion, endless, connection, love. Like there were so many words. Like we made like this huge PDF of a lot of words. But everything would come back to this like collectiveness and like creating all together. And this word that for me is so important is like endless, like something that doesn't finish. Because I really feel like all my works don't have an end. They keep going. And then the next work, it's like something that takes from the other one. So eterno means eternal. So this would come with that. And then the cheesy part is that like amor eterno, like eternal love, and then eterno. So we were connected to this like feeling of eternal love. Because I really feel like, even though it sounds cheesy, I really believe in it. I really believe if we're creating with a lot of love and connection, anything is possible. And I feel like it's really true with what we've done with the company in the last 4 years. So that's why it's called this. Yeah.
I love the story. Really. We love a cheesy story.
Easy story.
When did you realize you like creating?
Hmm. I'm like, I think first, it was when I was like, I guess, I mean, I did like my competition solos and all of this when I was like 15, but I feel like the real moment when I started creating, I did like my first like film when I was like brokenhearted because I didn't win like an award in dance. And I really remember being like, okay, like this makes sense. Like I need to express myself with other mediums. And I was like 16 or 17 at that time. Um, and since then, I feel like it's really interesting because it's always been the body, as I said, like before, but like I always find different ways. Like when dancing is not enough, then I like take a picture, or like when a picture is not enough, then I write. When writing is not enough, then I make an installation. I don't know, like it's always like finding myself curious with different ways to express what I need to express. And since then, I feel like since 16, it's always been part of my life. And even when I was dancing with other companies in New York, in Tel Aviv, in wherever I was, like for me, it was really important to keep my own practice and to keep my own creation process. Um, I don't know, it just like felt really like I just feel like I cannot not do it. It's like a thing that I have to do. Even when I'm like doing other things, it's what comes to my mind first. Like I need to make something. Um, and it first it always came from like me like needing it, which I still need, of course, but now I feel like I need to like share it. So like now that's why it's like a company or that's why it's like a show or a performance. Because I feel like I wanna make people feel what I feel when I make it, or feel something, whatever they want to feel. Like I don't want to force them to feel the same thing, but like I want to open them to feel things. And yeah, and I feel like now that's just what I'm gonna do the rest of my life, whatever it means. I remember talking to my mom and she's like, "You're not gonna be able to do your durational performances when you're 80." And I'm like, "Of course I will. Maybe I'm just sitting down and with my hands." But like I will.
I do
So
that.
yeah, no, I of course. So for me it's like a thing that I will do forever and it just makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like immersing yourself in other kinds of creative processes, such as filmmaking, writing, installations, did it change your approach to the body or the way you
For
move?
sure. Yeah, I think it makes me see things. from different perspectives. So even when I like maybe when I'm stuck with like a choreographic decision or with a dance, let's call it decision, I feel like then like for example in my process, I bring all my cameras, I bring like my writing, sometimes I bring my typewriter. I don't know, like sometimes it's really hard because I don't have a space. Like I rent or like they lend us different spaces. So every time I need to like bring my huge backpack with a lot of like my tools. But I like it because I feel like I go to work. But then, yeah, I feel like if I'm stuck with something, then I'm like, oh, okay, let's take a picture. And then with the picture, I'm like, okay, I see this moment that I didn't see through my eyes. And then everything, or sometimes it's not even like so obvious or so direct. I just do a lot of things, and then maybe like a month later, I'm like, ah, okay, that's why I wrote that. But I feel like I like just doing it for the sake of doing. If I feel like writing something, I write it. If I feel like taking pictures of them, I do it. And and it's just like that's how the process for me it's been. So I feel like it really permeates, it really touches the other aspects. And I also love, I mean, I love visual art. It's always been part of like my world too. And I like that it becomes even like a gift of the process. For me, like for example, for my photography lately, it's been a lot about the archive more than like doing like a photo shoot. So I have so many Polaroids of like the process. And for me, it's always like, I don't know, it's like a little library. I imagine one day having my own museum with all this like archival processes of everything. And I think it's so important. Like the process is so important just as much as the product or the finished piece. Yeah,
I have two questions.
I have two
One
answers.
is regarding material. How much do you
Mm,
feel like you're materialistic? Because you're saying like it's important for you the documentation of the processes.
yeah. This one is hard because then, first of all, it becomes really expensive. Like doing like film photos or Polaroid photos. And then I'm like, oh my God, this process is so expensive. But I've been learning about it. Like even in the grants that I apply for now, I'm like, my process needs all of this. Like it's not just renting a studio space. It's like having a camera and then developing the film and then printing the programs. I don't know, just like a lot of tangible stuff too. And it's just like what I need for the process. And I really love feeling that like it's more than let's say it's more than the body, like something about dance, it's really ephemeral and it finishes, which I also love, of course, and that's why I do it. But then I love having a memory, which is like a Polaroid, or like even with my like the set design of things, for example, I like keep the things. We have like these concrete bricks that like I use for a duet with Santiago, and like I keep them, like I have them in my apartment, even if they would break. Because for me, it's like one day maybe I'll use them or maybe not, but it's a memory of the moment that we experienced. And sometimes it can be a lot because I have a lot of objects. So I need to always try to let go of things. But I feel like it's beautiful. It's beautiful to keep a memory or a moment. And that's why I use objects, or that's why I do photos, or that's why I mean, and it's always also not digital photos. It's always like film photos or like Polaroids or something that feels like eternal a little bit, like I like writing with like my typewriter, so it doesn't feel so digital. And it actually makes me think a lot of like something that I talk a lot with the work too, that it's always about trying to go against technology because technology is always winning. So for me, it's always like, okay, a Polaroid reminds me of like the tangible, or like writing with my hands reminds me of the tangible, and dance reminds me of the tangible. Thank God AI still doesn't dance like us. I mean, soon probably it will, but like we have to keep reconnecting to, yeah, to this, to the skin, to the real things, not just to the things that are in the phone or in the computer. Yeah,
I actually think AI could never replace this.
that's
It could
cool.
move, right? It can make shapes with like a machine body, but it's not the same.
Not the same.
So much is burned into this flesh, into the skin, into this experience of being. that, wow, if they will ever be able to create anything like this, it would be insane, but I don't think so.
I hope
But I
not.
I feel like my brain with you is like shoo woo woo
I'm
shooting to
sorry.
all
Yeah.
directions. No, it's
Yeah.
nice. Because I have so many questions. So can you just answer me shortly about this one? Because of all the documentation, I don't know how to say this word, documentation of your work, it made me think about your morning research ritual. You probably have millions of videos already. Do
I
you
do.
do all of them?
Yes. No, I do. And this is also something that I love because I really imagine like when I'm like 50 or something, like making a video that's like I don't know how many hours, like endless hours, but with all the
Wow.
videos. Also, another thing I do with the morning research is every day I write something about it, and then every day I take a word from that. So I have like this poem that is full of just one word from like 7,000 days. So again, it's like, I don't know, I really like these things that feel really long and that never finish in a way maybe until I die or until something changes. Um, there's something just beautiful about it. Like I feel like it gives me nostalgia or it gives me like some certain thing that I like. And I really imagine like, me, for example, tomorrow is my birthday and I do this, yeah, tomorrow's my
Ah, congrats, baby.
Thank you. And I do this like performance on my birthday that I've been doing it for ten years. Tomorrow is my 11th year that I do it. And again, I really imagine this like old man at 80 like putting cake on his face and like it's just beautiful to like think that something really can transcend no matter the age. And I think this is interesting because I feel like with dance, for example, we really have this idea of limitation of age. And for me, it's not. Like, it's really like I will dance forever or I will make art somehow forever. And I think we should encourage that to like the younger generations too, of like, how can we dance forever? How can we make art forever? And not just until you're 35 and then you're hurting so much that you don't want to do it anymore? Because it's like that for most of us. So I think that's why I do this durational works, because maybe I want to encourage myself to imagine for my whole life and to hopefully make other people imagine for their whole lives. Yeah.
So beautiful. I'm curious about the morning research.
Hmm.
How did this habit ritual started? And I guess by now it's a habit, but it's a ritual.
Yeah.
Maybe some days you still have to kind of force yourself into it. I'm wondering because I feel like this is something that a lot of dancer can benefit from hearing this creative research, this
Yeah.
like every day, either waking up in the morning and doing that, or just doing that during your day, even 2 minutes at home, just expanding your range, your expressive range.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, because it really can be at any time. For me, it's in the morning because I remember when I was younger, I mean, when I started it too, I really was connecting to my dreams and I wanted to like remember them a little bit. So then I would be like, okay, I'm gonna move whatever comes to my mind first. So that's why for me it was so important to like, I would wake up and the first thing I would do is move. Um, it's been changing because like now again, like it depends on the day. Sometimes it takes me more time to wake up. But I remember the day I started it was because I felt I was dancing with a company and I felt like I needed my own space to like keep discovering myself, even though we would work in the company with improvisation with Gaga, um, like I felt like it's still specific to a specific system. So I would be like, oh, I just want to like move myself, whatever that means. Um, and that's why I feel like it can be really beneficial to, I mean, not to only dancers, to people, to like really connect to the body at the beginning of your day. And then it really feels like, for me at least, I really feel like I can go adventure to the world where there's going to be challenges and bad things happening and all of this, but with a more soft or like more open body and mind. So I feel like this is how it started. Like I wanted to like not lose myself this is, I feel like, something that you talk about like in on Instagram too, of like I feel like not losing ourselves, of like when you're dancing with someone else, on where people put you like this like specific box or pressure. And for me, it was so important of like, okay, even if I'm dancing with someone or in a company, I need to really like connect to myself every day. Because it's so easy to like be like, oh, they want me to be like this, or you need to be more like this, or you need to dance like this, which you can do because it's a job. But then I'm like, okay, but how do I want to move? Or like, why do I need to do it for myself too? And this is just a reminder I do every day when I do my morning research. Um, and again, the writing that comes after it really helps me too, because when I move, sometimes it's just like whatever it needs to be. But then also when I write after, I feel like my thoughts made it helped me clear or clarify maybe something that even I had yesterday that was in my mind and I couldn't sleep because of it. And then I move a little bit and then I write about it and then I can like kind of like move on from it and keep going because I feel like the hardest thing that we have is our mind more than our body, you know? Our mind is like it really stops us. It really blocks us. So this is why the writing comes for me too. Because I'm like, okay, my mind needs to also put things into like something tangible and then I can just flow. Yeah.
Wow, I connect with this a lot because I also practice writing every single morning for, I think, 5 or 6 years already.
Good.
Yeah, I think I started doing that in 2021, almost every morning. And for the last 2 years, every single morning, I write down 3 pages of
And
just
you did 3 pages.
whatever,
Yes.
just to get in
Good.
touch with what's going on in here.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean, this is
interesting.
from the, sorry, this is from the Artist Way book. Did you read
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah, I did.
Like
And
I read this book after and I was like, well, I'm already doing this. So like it really makes sense. Like everyone should do it. You
such
know?
an amazing book, by the way. Uh,
Everyone should read it. Yeah.
Definitely. So you were talking like a while ago, but I wrote it down because for me it was super interesting. You said something about you train the body and you train the mind. So how do you train the mind with your dancers?
It's a hard one. Because I feel like no, I feel like we're used to, like yeah, pointing the feet or like stretching the arms more, but like I feel like we train our minds in these like durational sessions that we do and in the shows. I mean, I feel like that's the most the most place that we can train. But yeah, I feel like this is like in the studio at least, like we train really on these like long sessions and this is where I feel like they can really stop thinking. And then we talk about it. This is also something we do a lot in the company. Like it's not just like dance and then like go home. Every time we like finish a run or something, I'm always so curious of like, okay, like what you experienced or like what you felt. More than like, of course, we always have suggestions and you didn't do it, blah, 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 blah. But more than that, for me, it's always so important like what we experience because I feel like from that experience, then it's a training too, and then we learn something. And then the next time we do it, even though it's going to be completely different because every day it's a different show, I guess, we have more experience to like deal with it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like in the practices that we do, also like in the warm-up classes, in all of these things, we have like these exercises. I call them exercises to come back, which we like, it's almost like physical meditation. We like slow down so much to like really not think, and then we're just there. It's something we train and we try again. It's about trying. And I'm still figuring them out because I feel like it's something I do too when I'm like really chaotic. I like need to like move slow. Um, and then I can go and do my movement. So I like to think of this like ways to come back to the body, and that helps the mind. Yeah.
You know, I enjoyed hearing that you talk after Iran or after rehearsal about what is the experience of each person in the group because I feel like um there's something important about verbalizing things because it gives a lot of clarity. Of course, each person has their own kind of perception of each word, being
Yeah.
said, but it's different than just experiencing with the body and then talking about it. And like we come from a place that we used to practice a lot with the body and not talk about it after. And for me, I remember the first time that I went freelancing and people were sitting down after a run and talking for like half an hour or maybe longer
You're
than
like,
the run sometimes about what they experienced. I was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? Like, go home. Like, I don't need to
let's just dance.
experience. Yeah. But I do think that for people who are very physical, it's really good to practice verbalizing things because for people
Yeah.
who are talking a lot during their lives and they're not in touch with their body so much, it's better to go into the body. But for
Yeah.
people who are used to working with the body so intensely, it's actually good to process it by understanding what you just experienced and giving it words.
For sure. I think this is something also maybe even culturally, because I remember when I made a piece with like Guy, Johnny, that they came to Mexico with like the Mexican dancers too. Like I combined like my two worlds a little bit. I remember, for example, like Johnny and Guy being really physical, and like I saw how the dancers here in Mexico would take a lot of information from that, and it was really beautiful. But I feel like they would take also a lot of like the questioning and like why we do it, or like how we feel, or like what we want to make feel people, like all this like talk that we have. I feel like was really beneficial, and I think it has to be like a balance because I feel like sometimes, at least for example, in Mexico, it's really like, okay, like what story do we want to tell? Or like all of this that for me, it's not about story, but like it's important more about the experience. But to not lose the physical aspect of it. Because if not, we can just be making another thing. We can be sitting down and talking a poem, you know? So it's like, okay, how do we really feel it with the body? But then we talk about the experience, so maybe we like gives more information to like what we're doing, you know? And it also because we're making work like in collective. So for me, it's really important to really hear like what things they're feeling or like what things they're connecting it to or like they're imagining while they do it. Because for me, like when I come with a concept or with a piece, I tell them like this is what I imagine, but like it's not about my experience. It's like if we're talking about like this last piece, for example, like the border or like the limits, for each one of them, it was really different. You know, some of them have never left their home, you know, or like some of them have moved different countries, or some of them, like we were talking about again, as I said already, like technology is the biggest border right now for some of them. So like what after you know all of that from each person, then when you're dancing with them, when I'm dancing with you and I look at you in the eyes, I remember you like what you're thinking too, and not just what you're doing. So I feel like it gives even more depth to the work that we do. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious about this transition into being like having your own company and like leading others. How was it for you also going back to Mexico and immersing yourself in the dance scene there? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
For sure. I mean, it was not my plan at the beginning. I really like whenever people ask me this, I'm really like, I never want to have a dance company. Like it's like I still don't want it. It's just like I'm like, I don't want it. Please help me. No, like for me, it's like I always knew I want to make work. And now it's like it happened like this is a platform I'm doing and it makes sense, so I'm doing it. But I remember coming to Mexico and for me, I arrived, I taught workshops, and I really, for me, it was really important to like share my experience that I had or of these 10 years away from Mexico. But then I remember being like, okay, like it feels like something needs to like build here. Like we need to like plant seeds. And for me, it was like if I leave again, because I was gonna move to Germany, like that was my plan to like be a freelancer and like keep doing my work, but like in a place where I had friends already. And then I was like, okay, if I leave Mexico, then like the seed is only like little. It cannot grow, you know? So this is why I've been here for like almost 4 years, because I feel like the seed is only now like really like blooming, because it takes time. This is also beautiful. Like the company and the project has taught me like it really takes time. Like, and you cannot push or pressure it. It was really hard for me, like when I moved back, because I had this big privilege, of dancing in one of the biggest companies in the world and like touring the world. And then I'm like here with my tiny company, and I'm like, why are we not touring the whole world? And then I'm like, yeah, because it's not easy, and like it takes a lot of years and a lot of work. And I mean, we've been really lucky, like with the company, we've toured like in different countries and a lot of in Mexico and different states. And so I feel like we're managing, but it's a constant work every day. Like it's just about like sending emails and applying to everything and like receiving thousands of no's. I feel like even the no's for me are just like I even forget about them because like I feel like I receive like literally like every week I have a no from an application. But then the yes comes to something. So you just have to keep trying. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's been the process of the company. Right now, it feels a bit more like grounded, a bit more real, let's say. Because at the beginning, I felt like it was just about like, okay, let's try to do this show and this other thing and this workshop, like just do everything, everything, everything. And now because it's been years, I can allow myself to also say like, no, we are not gonna do this, or we can have a break if we need to. Which is really hard because I feel like the world just wants to push you to produce and do all the time. But we need to kind of like be smart with it too, because it's really easy to get burned out. Like I feel like I've experienced burnout so much in the past 3 years. Um, and I feel like the only way to escape it is really resting, really having like time for yourself. Like nowadays, when I have a big premiere, I always try, because sometimes it's impossible, but I always try to have like a week off after to really process and to really rest, because it's really big what we do. It's really like, and also like you have one show or you have three shows and then it's done. So you really need to process it because sometimes you don't have that time. And it comes with a big challenge. I feel like also dancing with a big company where we had more than 100 shows taught me to like let go of things. But then it's like with my own company, like I don't have 100 shows of a piece. So it's like it's a really different reality of like it's important to like give the space to things and not be so like perfectionist. Because when you have one show, for example, with this piece, we only had one show like 2 weeks ago, and then it's done. But I think it's still really important to imagine like as if you would have 100 shows, but like to like really experience it as if it was one, like to have this double identity of the performances. And again, I'm still figuring out with the company. Sometimes I don't want to have it, sometimes it changes.
You
Right
heard
now it
all the
works.
people that are giving Cesar grants?
No, no. Help me, please. No, like it's like for me again, it's like I still want to make things and I still want to create, but I feel like the system of a company, at least nowadays, it feels a bit weird, like independent companies specifically.
How does
Like,
the
because
company work? Like, do you work full time? Can you say a little bit about this?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like for me, it was never the plan to be full time because it's really not sustainable. But I mean, some years, like last year, we were really lucky to have a lot of grants and support and shows and festivals. So it felt like full time. Something really important for me is we never work every day. Like we only work 3 days a week. So everyone has other projects. They can teach. They can do a lot of other things. Good, because I also don't have unfortunately, I don't have enough money to pay them for them to be with me, only. But also I feel like it's not a bad thing. Like I feel like they can expand in their other creative ways and it really helps me and the company. Um, and this year, I really made it clear again that it was project based and not full time. So sometimes for like specific Ps, there's more dancers, sometimes there's less dancers. Um, yeah, because like having like a big group of people and like sustaining them, it's really hard, especially when you're like independent, and when you're young and yeah, it's just I mean, like I recommend it because it's a challenge, but I also don't recommend it because because it's like almost impossible. I feel like I was trying to do something that's not possible. But what is possible is to make your work and adapt to the situations. For example, with the pieces too, like the big productions, I cannot do them if I don't have a grant. But that's why we have also smaller pieces where we can tour or like, yeah, I feel like you just have to be smart in the way that you create. Because if you only make big pieces, they're never going to tour unless you're already like a well-known choreographer or a big company. But like that also again takes time, you know. So you have to be kind of like you have to try a lot of ways. And then when someone asks you like what can you offer me? Because at the end of the day, for me it's always hard to talk about it like this, but it is a job and it is like a thing we're like presenting, you know? It's not just art. It's like we're presenting a show, like what this show means, what it makes people feel. Why is it important that like a festival in Germany presents my show, you know? Not just because I love dance. Like you really need to like know why you're doing it and know how to sell yourself. Which is something I told you, I think like I stopped fighting against this in the last years. Like I stopped fighting about like selling or like administrating things because I feel like as artists, it just comes with the work. Like we have to learn how to do it. If you stop fighting against it, I think it becomes simpler when you just have to be like, okay, I need to make a budget for this creation instead of being like, oh, like I don't know how to make a budget. Like I just want to make dance, you know? And then you learn other tools. And then also when you're in charge of things, you're like, oh, I know how to do a budget. I know how to be in charge of things. And it's, I don't know, I feel like it's just easier to manage overall, like a big project. Yeah.
Did you have anyone guiding you in the beginning of your process, or you were completely on your own, like just jumping into the pool and swimming in the deep water?
Yeah. I feel like I did ask people. Um, this is something that actually I feel like it's something important for people when like you feel lost or you feel like you don't have or you don't understand. I feel like it's always important to go back. It happened to me, for example, when I didn't get like I was an apprentice and then I didn't get a contract. And then I remember going back to like teachers from before and then I could work with them or like I could manage other things. So for this, when I started the company, and even now, like I talk to some people from New York, some people from Tel Aviv that have their own project or their company, or some friends from here, for example, like there's a specific group of choreographers that are my age in Mexico trying to make it happen. And we're always talking. We're always talking of like, okay, like how are you gonna do it? Or like how much how much money did this festival offer you? We're like trying to make like a web that like we can help and support each other because it's really hard. Because also there's no like, I mean, I didn't go to school to study how to make a company, you know? And like, so you're just figuring out every day. And I like it because I feel like I've learned a lot of tools that like now with like other friends that are trying to make their project, I can support them too, as other people supported me. Um, and it's just about being open about asking for help. I feel like sometimes it's really hard to ask for help, at least for me. Like I'm like a person that I'm like, no, I can do it alone. But I feel like, again, no, you can't. And it's good to ask for help. And someone else knows more than you always. So even if it's different, it's always good to like listen to other perspectives. And sometimes maybe it doesn't work for you, but at least you understood, you know? I remember talking to Andrea Miller, like the director of Galim. Um, and she told me like, wow, you don't have an administrative like structure. You only have like an artistic one. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like I need to figure that out. Because for me at the beginning it was just like, let's make art. So then you have to understand again that it has to have certain specific system for it to work. But every system is different. You can find your own system and you can help each other's systems, but it's always going to be different. Yeah.
Well, I agree. Like, couldn't agree more about reaching out to people that know better than you. Because even if you're very talented and you're doing a lot of things, you don't know everything.
Of course.
And agreeing to be vulnerable and asking for help, asking for other people's opinions and experience is making you stronger. Like, it's actually a virtue in my eyes.
For
And
sure.
Cesar, I'd like to ask you because we have to finish.
Okay.
What would you tell a creative dance artist that just starts creating their own kind of art, whatever discipline they choose, and they feel a bit insecure about it? They don't know, maybe money is holding them back. Do you have any
Mm.
tip or something that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I feel like it's so interesting because like now that I'm more established or whatever, sometimes it feels like it's not even enough money, let's say. But then I remember Cesar that was like just like doing something like in his kitchen, and like then it's like you can do with whatever you have. Like it's never about money and it's never about the big structure as long as like you again as long as you go deep inside of yourself and understand why you're doing it. I feel like that for me has always been like the key to creating when I get lost or when I don't get a grant or when all of this like outside noise happens. I just need to go back to like okay, like why I need to make it, what things like move me, what things obsess me. I always tell people like obsess more. For me, it's really important, like to not just be like, oh, I want to do this and then move on. I'm like, no, like do it or like write about it. Something I do a lot. I used to do even more. Like I would write every piece or everything I would imagine, even if I can't do it. If I have this huge idea of like making a piece in an airplane, I'm not gonna be able to do it yet. But like maybe like in 10 years, I can get a grant. But maybe now I can make a really tiny piece that like can connect to it. Actually makes me think of when I was, I think 22. I gave myself like a challenge of making 100 films in 1 year. I did like 77, which is a lot. But I remember for me, it was just about doing like whatever it was. I could just go to the park and make a film and then edit it. And then I'm like, that's it. I didn't need to like conceptualize or think about it so much. And then the year after, I made like my first short film that was really meaningful and like, I mean, it got recognition and whatever, but like, I felt like all these 77 films I did before really touch a lot of what I did in one film. And so for me, she was like, just do. Like anything helps. Even if it's again like a tiny, tiny piece of whatever and it feels irrelevant, it is relevant. Because I feel like sometimes that's something that the system outside and also with social media and with everything wants to attack us with like, no, you need to make like the best thing and you need to make big thing. And for me, I feel like really like the best things I've made, sometimes it's really things I make in my own room and I'm like alone, you know? And then that permeates and that helps the big piece I make instead of just thinking of the big piece. So yeah, just go make and go get curious. Don't lose your curiosity. Like I feel like that's really important. Yeah.
I loved it. And curiosity is a word that keeps coming up in this podcast with almost every guest that I have. And I feel like this is again such a good reminder that sometimes when we create, we think about the end product and how people are going to react to it, if they're going to buy it, if they're going to come to the show, if they're going to like our post or invite us to present our film in this festival. But this is a good reminder to stay curious, stay in the moment, stay in the process, stay with yourself before you think about how the world is receiving you.
Yeah.
So
Because at the
this,
end of the day, that like stays for shorter. Like the process is what you can really take. Like, I don't know, I think of this show, like people clap and standing ovation and all of this, but that lasts for 3 minutes and then it's gone. But what you can stay with is the process and like everything that you invested in every day. Yeah.
yeah, and also finding more things about yourself that is so beautiful to realize that when you're going through a deep process with yourself, facing yourself every single day.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Ceci, thank you so much for this conversation. I had the best time having you here.
That's great.
And guys, if you like this episode, if you like this podcast, then it's time to subscribe, like, share, send it to anyone that can benefit from this information. This is these are conversations from the bottoms of our hearts. And if it moved something in you, I'm sure that it will move something for someone else as well. So make sure to spread the word. Thank you again for being here today, and I will see you in the next episode. Ciao.